Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Commissioners for our meeting here on August 24th, 2022. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our inspirational word for the day comes from James. My dear brothers and sisters, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Lundy.
I'm here.
And Commissioner Hung.
Here.
Okay. We did our notification for this meeting. We had a timeline issue that needed to be addressed. Normally, we weren't going to be here today, but because of the importance of a timeline issue, we are here. The matter involves the Nexus pipeline, and I've asked the auditor to join us this morning to explain the time urgency and why we needed to meet today to take this action. So, Mr. Auditor.
Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you for meeting today. Yeah, we are on a really tight time crunch. As you know, we've had a number of meetings regarding Nexus over the last couple of years. We received notification from the tax commissioner back first part of July, something that they've been working on for a few years, and now about within a few weeks I have to make a decision. Actually, we have to make a decision by September 6th to actually file a potential appeal. It's been very difficult in obtaining information, but I asked for approval to proceed with Mr. Sansucci to help analyze us with the documentations we've been able to receive through public records request, which has been very, very tough to get. And that's why I'm really here today, just to get that approval.
Okay.
How'd you come across picking this individual?
We've had experience using them in the past. Other counties have used them as well.
Yeah, they worked on the NRG
Yes.
case, correct? Yeah, I thought they did a very good job on that case as well, too. So, any other questions?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, you're good, Greg. I don't need to. Yeah, the NRG case, I think that was that First Energy.
But there's a power plant.
Yeah, the power
in
plant.
Avon Lake.
Yeah, I think there were bigger issues there than they were having more issues with Mr. Householder than they were with Lorraine County, I believe, weren't they? Was that First Energy?
That was
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
NRG was a supplier to First Energy.
Supplier for First Energy.
First Energy used to have that plant, I believe, in the past, but not at the time. It was NRG.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. At 9:05 yesterday morning, I received a call from JR saying we're having a meeting today. Usually I don't like doing this where I have to do a lot of research within 24 hours and I don't feel like I'm 100% prepared, so I'm going to do the best that I can with the information that I acquired in the last 24 hours so that my other two commissioners can hopefully understand where my position is coming from. I looked at, I kind of went back. I've heard Craig in township trustee meetings, and I've heard other speeches in regard to the Nexus plant. It's been going on since 2015. If I start rattling numbers off, we're probably going to put everybody to sleep here, okay? Bottom line is Nexus is at 615 million. The state was at 1.6 billion. And that was based on a cost to build valuation, not a market value. During the process of the reevaluation, the state's own witness came in at 1.2 billion. Nexus was at 975 million. And in that was $360 million in engineering costs, grading, pollution, all that kind of stuff, basically non-taxable product. And it brought them down to that's how they came up with their 615 million. So basically where we're at now is the state of Ohio agrees to a settlement of 950 million. And it was not one-sided because you're looking at everybody that was involved are on opposite sides. These are people that constantly fight with each other, private and public sector in regards to taxation. The chief tax assessor of the state and his staff of attorneys agreed for the state of Ohio to come down 22% of that 1.2 billion. Nexus came up 54%. The 13 counties involved, 12 county auditors and their prosecutors agreed to accept this settlement. Nexus reluctantly agreed. The state of Ohio, the Attorney General and his chief counsel has agreed. So today, it looks like we have to vote on an appraisal today. It sounds like something simple. It was supposed to be something, let's just vote and hire an appraisal to appeal this. What's going on is a little bit bigger than that. Nexus in 2019 paid $55 million in taxation. That's what they paid to the 13 counties. In 2020, they paid $55 million. In 2021, they're supposed to, based on the settlement, pay $65 million. And there's also another $20 million that's been collected interest since 2019. That's the settlement agreement. I've seen some of the documentations. I've been Googling public records. I've been doing the best I can with the limited time that I've had. And my understanding is, based on what I've read and the documents that I have, and I will provide if you guys want to see it, is that if Lorraine County appeals this, the settlement goes away for everybody, the 13 schools or the 13 counties and their school districts. Based on what their history is of Nexus, they're in 39 states. 37 states had no issues. The state of Minnesota had an issue, and they fought. Nexus fought. Nexus won. It took 9 years. In that 9 years, they just get to pay the minimum. I'm afraid, this company has not asked for any tax abatements. The history of fighting these things like Green Circle Growers, I don't want to sit there and refund money that we've already collected. My concern is if we proceed with a appeal, it's going to hurt 13 counties, including ours, because I can tell you right now, they have the resources, they have the proof to get it down to that $615 million value. So what do? We're voting today to hire a company to represent us. A company that's going, where we have to fight in front of the Board of Appeals. In the Board of Appeals, this appraiser's fees to do the same exact thing for United Local Schools Board of Education versus Columbiana County Board of Revision. They paid this guy $450,000 to fight. That's how much they paid. We have an open-ended contract that we're voting on today, an open-ended contract. So this is going to cost about $450,000. If it costs the school board who fought the county, that's how much that cost. Now what happened was there was sanctions that were starting to become, they're having issues, and the United School System, the United Local School Board of Education, realized that they made a mistake. The Columbiana County Auditor and the Columbiana County Board of Revision, herein referred to collectively as county, wish to indicate their support and concurrence with the company's motion, which was Utica, was another company, for sanctions against Mr. Sansucci. Nevertheless, it's important to note that the county agrees that the Board of Education and their legal counsel are merely blameless victims and were misled and deceived by this appraiser that we're voting on. An appraiser, if you look at the contract, shows, oh, here's the hourly rates, here's the hourly rates. This thing's gonna cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is what happened. During a cross-examination, it became apparent that Mr. Sansucci was aware of a number of other errors in respect to his appraisal report, which he did not correct or voluntarily bring to the attention of the parties and or the Board of Taxation. Instead, he actively concealed these errors and continued to advocate this. And it was clear in those in attendance at the hearing that he repeatedly changed his testimony throughout that hearing. So what happens next is they ask for a 5-year publicly recommend and a censor. And that's what they filed. What happens next is the client, which is the school board, actually filed a motion with them saying Utica's motion seeks to censor Mr. Sansucci and suspend his ability to testify before the Board of Tax of Appeals for a period of 5 years. Utica is correct. This is the school that hired him and paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars. They were paid for expert testimony. They are correct. It became apparent during the hearing that his appraisal report contained material errors and some testimony elicited by Utica on cross-examination undermined statements and conclusions. So the Board of Education, who paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars, said we have no opposition to what they're doing. So what happens? They go before the board. He doesn't show up. Here are some of the statements that were read inside this statement. It was, they have reached the merits. This board likely would have agreed with Utica that the inconsistencies and misrepresentation of facts in this report and testimony does raise concerns about the credibility of his work, product, and ultimate conclusions as to real property value in this matter. And indeed, this board likely would not have relied on Mr. Saucy's appraisal of the property as a result of such concern. There was also some other, there was three members on this board. It was a 2-to-1 vote. There's dissents. The bottom line is there was no show because the school board withdrew. Because of the testimony and what was going on, they withdrew, so there was no sanctions. I want to be clear with that there were no sanctions filed, but had it proceeded based on what I have and what I have passed out, it would have happened. Based on what I've read so far, the terms and conditions of the settlement agreement that 12 counties, the Attorney General and the Tax Commissioner have approved, basically the terms and conditions of this settlement agreement will be void, not only for Lorraine County, but for 12 other counties in all those school districts. This is true whether one or several auditors pursue a potential appeal. The results applies even for counties not involved in this appeal. This not only harms, if this appeal moves forward, it will harm Lorraine County, it will harm 12 other counties just as well. This is why I'm not going to be supporting any of this. I have files, I printed it up, I didn't pass these out, it's just too thick, of the transcripts of what was said. I think the fact that we're going to go back and we're going back behind the people that actually heard this individual speak, and he has not testified since then. Now, yes, he has represented First Merit, or not First Merit, but with First Energy and some of their suppliers, but they have a lot bigger fish to fly with Householder and other of those nuke issues that they had, and I think it was issue number 6 at the state level. So this is why I'm not going to support moving forward, because if they win, I'm not risking $100 million. If you take a look at it, it's a $20 million, going to be a $20 million a year difference. They pay about $55 million a year. They'll not, if they win, it goes down to $45 million a year. This isn't like, okay, sorry, we screwed up in 6-7 months. Okay, you guys win. Guess what? It doesn't matter. They're ready to go either way. Now, because of Lorraine County has not agreed to this, they have to file a motion to a protective order, probably by today or next week, in order to protect their positions. But I'm hearing stuff from the state. I called state reps. I'm calling state senators. I'm trying to find out last minute yesterday what's going on, what's happening here. This is the information I've received, and this is why I'm not going to support moving forward, because I don't like an open-ended contract. I saw what happened to the schools. They paid $450,000, and even they said, we're not going to oppose the sanctions. This makes no sense. We should get our money. There's $20 million sitting there in escrow waiting to be released. This is a bad deal. Thank you.
Comments? Okay. Yeah, let me be very clear, and I think people know me well enough to know that my record in public service has been, I don't stand with the utility companies, I stand with the consumers, I stand with the taxpayers. And we see this too often, where companies come in and make promises, then they don't carry through on those promises. I think that's shameful. There was an appraisal that was done. There was a value that was determined that was at $2.1 billion. Their contention now is $950 million for value. That's down 55%. I don't know anybody who would see that as being acceptable. This quite clearly is another example of the state being in bed with utility companies. I can't put it any other way. We saw First Energy, as my colleague mentioned earlier. Another example, the state's just too cozy, playing footsies with utility companies, and then the taxpayers end up picking up the bill. The public doesn't have lobbyists We're supposed to be the voice of the people. We're supposed to represent the people. These utility companies have their big flashy attorneys that roll in their expensive suits and put on a big show for their client. If you really think that they've got the interest of your county or your school district at heart, you've lost your mind if you think they even want to be fair about any of this. And this is an example of how they're not even being reasonable and fair. We're supposed to be their voice. You know, if we don't hold them accountable now, when are we ever going to hold them accountable? I'm not okay with schools losing money. I'm not okay with higher levies and more levies for school districts because companies are coming in and not paying their fair share of what they should be paying. And, you know, if the other counties don't want to step up, shame on you. Shame on you. But this county's going to step up. We're going to protect our school districts. We're going to protect our taxpayers. We're going to hold people accountable in this county. And the support that's needed to do this certainly comes from me. And I'm not going to accept having this, quite frankly, rammed down our throats. I wasn't planning on saying much today, but when we were in Columbus recently talking with the tax administrator, I thought we were totally disrespected in a very unprofessional way. You know, simply told, well, this is what they want. You know, this is what they'll agree to do. Well, it doesn't make it acceptable. It doesn't make them accountable. You know, and I give our auditor a lot of credit. He's taking a lot of heat right now for making this decision. But I believe at the end of the day, you're going to be thankful. I believe, Auditor Snodgrass, that you're doing your job. You're representing the people of this county, the school systems, and others that are going to be losing money because of this county, because of this company not being held accountable. And I want to thank you for the job that you're doing. Commissioner.
Auditor Snodgrass is requesting and is wanting an evaluation. And I just want to make sure everybody understands he is a duly elected official. He represents the county. And he has come to this board asking for this resolution to make the expenditure so he can do his job on the residents' behalf. I am not going to prevent him from performing his due diligence in this matter for the residents of Lorraine County. I will be supporting it today.
Well, first of all, what I found out, because I can't find it, I can't find out where there were any promises made. What I did find was that in the beginning, the counties were asking how much revenue we're going to receive out of this, how much revenue. So they did a study based on the cost analysis of the project, which was in Ohio, 1.6 billion. It was a total of 2.6 billion between Michigan and Ohio. Probably one of the few times you see Michigan and Ohio working together. And I had to say that, sorry.
It doesn't happen often.
I know it don't. So anyway, so the actual project came in, the cost was 1.6 billion. It's like building your home for 600,000 and getting taxed at 475. Okay, you're not gonna get taxed at the cost of it. What my fear is and what's gonna happen, and unfortunately we probably won't see this for 6 or 7 years, is that there'll be a reduction of $20 million a year. I'm not willing to gamble money so that we can look good, that we're fighting for the people. The fact of the matter is, the money's there, the schools are suffering. Everybody that's looked at it, that has a boatload of attorneys on the state side, on the county side, there's 12 county commissioner, or 12 county auditors, they're prosecutors, and we're the only ones holding out. It will cost us a lot of money. Based on what I just heard, I guess I'm wasting my breath now. So thanks. I guess we'll get it over with.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, if you'll read into the record the resolution, please.
In the matter of approving the retention of an expert for the Lorraine County Auditor to provide valuation and valuation analysis, rebuttal, research, and general consulting services with regard to the Nexus gas transmission pipeline owned by DT Mainstream and Enbridge.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lundy?
Any discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Any further discussion? No? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Nope. And Amy, will you give them all the documentation for the record? Because in 6 years from now, when the schools are not getting their money, I want to make sure why. Thank you.
And we'll be back here after we're successful in this initiative. So look forward to the day. Any other business come before the board? No? Madam Clerk, you'll let us know when our next meeting is?
Wednesday, August 31st, at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, we'll all be here with bells on our toes, right? Ready to go. So, okay. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.